What's up, movie nerds and basketball geeks? Welcome back to Movie Ball Sega! On today's episode, I'm reviewing the long-awaited Sonic the Hedgehog movie. Gotta go fast! That wasn't that fast. I mean, it's not as fast as Sonic. I've been a pretty big fan of Sonic for quite some time. I grew up with his foray into 3D games like Sonic Adventure DX and Sonic Adventure 2, and even Sonic Heroes I enjoyed quite a bit, but after that it was kind of went downhill with the Sonic games. I know they've gotten a lot of shit from people over the years. Sega and just the Sonic games as a whole have not produced great content. But I've always been a fan of Sonic. I even watched the Sonic X cartoon on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. So I think that's on Netflix now too. I might just revisit that. But I've always really appreciated Sonic and enjoyed him quite a bit as a character because he was just so cool. He was this snarky little fast guy that he's just so fucking cool, especially to a young kid because he's so fast. So I was looking forward to this movie, even when it was announced, knowing that video game movies suck, knowing that adaptations of live-action movies with CGI characters in them suck, and knowing that most Sonic video games over the past decade have sucked, I was still pretty amped. Then this happened, and everyone rightfully went nuts. Honestly, what an otherworldly fuck were they thinking with this? I still believe it was a marketing ploy. There's just no way to wrap my head around the idea that a whole studio of people greenlit this design. It went through all of these people. They all said, yes, that's great. And they went and moved forward with it. And they released this whole trailer. I mean, they moved to February. I think they had this deadline in mind. They were going to move to February, get people talking about the movie. They had a more box office friendly time to be released in February rather than in November, where there's a lot of more bigger releases coming out. There's no kids competition, until Onward comes out in a couple of weeks with Pixar. They have this whole thing ready. I cannot believe that people actually thought that this Sonic was a good idea. But they changed the design because everybody said what I said, everybody hated it, and that's why I think it was this whole marketing stunt. Alas, we now have this Sonic, which is 1,000, a million times better, and should make us all remember to be grateful when we think things are bad. Anywho, basically Sonic winds up on Earth causing a major blackout with his super speed, causing the government to go after him as well as that dastardly Dr. Robotnik. Sonic the Hedgehog is simply a blast of fun. It's everything I expected and wanted out of this film. It's a jolt of nostalgic energy filled with humor, action, and a great sense of adventure. Sonic is brought to life wonderfully by Ben Schwartz, who voices him with that sarcastic charm we've come to know and love the character by. And while he's definitely a good representation of Sonic, I don't quite remember him being this jokey and energetic. However, it is a family comedy, so I understand that they have to crank up the magnitude of his character to appeal to kids. It makes sense, and it doesn't take away from the character. I mean, all of his traits still remain intact. His personality's still there. Everything makes sense. It's not a bad thing at all. It's just sometimes Sonic can teeter on the borderline of annoying, but luckily when that happens, they either tone down his behavior or just cut away altogether. For the most part, he's as cool and likable as ever, and he's a character that kids will definitely fall in love with, and adults will feel justice was done to the character that they fell in love with as kids. If you don't like Sonic, or don't care about Sonic, or don't have any kids, you might still like the movie. This was definitely made for kids and for the fan base of the video game, and if you fall into either of those demographics, I would imagine that you really enjoy the movie. If you don't fall into those categories, you might still find it to be a fun enough adventure, but I really do think that the nostalgia factor and the experience of growing up with Sonic plays a huge part in your enjoyment of the film. That's not to say you can't enjoy the movie if you know nothing about Sonic or never played any of the video games. Jim Carrey is probably the best he's been since I Love You, Philip Morris, which is a great movie that flew under the radar that I don't think a lot of people have seen, and if you haven't seen it, you should definitely check it out because Jim Carrey is excellent in it, but that movie came out over 10 years ago now. Carrey's clearly having fun, and there's a lot of bits that he can really sink his teeth into, and James Marsden is extremely likable as Sonic's kind of partner in crime and right-hand man. There isn't really much to his character and much for him to do other than keep Sonic chugging along during his journey, but it's a very minor gripe and an otherwise very easygoing and chill, likable character. But Sonic is the main focus, and if you don't much care for him or never really played the games, then you might just find the movie to be okay as opposed to others that significantly enjoyed it because of their connection to the character. There's a couple of plot lines and scenarios that don't exactly make sense. It's full of cliches and tired story arcs, and there's a decent amount of gags that are clearly aimed at children, but the end result is a frequently funny, fast-paced, and well-executed adaptation of The Blue Hedgehog. It's not the greatest movie in the world, but the fact that it can live up to its expectations makes for a very satisfying outcome. I'm gonna give Sonic the Hedgehog a B. The movie also does an excellent job at setting up the world of Sonic while not overcomplicating things either. It introduces us to our base hero and gives us glimpses of what kind of stories and possible adventures we might see in future installments. I'm now very excited for the next Sonic movie. Also, there's this one really brief shot where Sonic's running downhill and Eggman chases from behind, and it's so reminiscent of Sonic Adventure 2. Like, it was just such a beautiful recreation that happens just like that. It happens so fast, but it was just so perfect, and it just made me geek out. And I think that if you're a fan of the Sonic Adventure games, whether it's Sonic Adventure 1, Sonic Adventure 2, you're going to get a blast from this very brief moment, and you should definitely see it. It's worth the price of admission just for that. It was great. Like, comment, subscribe, smash the like button. Gotta go fast! Gotta go fast!